So the entire world is rebelling right now, and I gotta tell you, as an anarchist, libertarian type of individual, you love to see it. I mean, whether it be Indonesia, Australia, the UK, even Japan, the whole world is basically saying, fuck the government. So welcome back to Words Paradise. I'm your host, Leon Idol, and Sargon of Akkad put out a video on this particular thing. One of y'all threw it in my Discord, and I thought, ooh, well, if we didn't get enough fuck the government content, then here's a little bit more. So we're gonna get into this. Before we do, hit that subscribe button. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news every day. And while this might not be, nerdy per se, it's still the direction I love to see the world going. So let's just get right into it.
It really is all starting to come to a head now. It's just undeniable at this point that the state itself is set against the British people and in favor.
Not just the British people, mind you. Again, you can look up what's going on in Indonesia, Australia, of course the US. We've been seeing this brewing in the US for a hot minute. Again, Japan. Japan has been doing anti-immigration rallies and marches. I mean, like, the state at pretty much every level of every different culture is falling apart, which kind of makes you wonder, oh, is this a new world order sort of thing? Has this been found out? Is there a global cabal of elites that decide to use children as their personal playthings? Like, there's a whole lot going on out there right now, and if every single country is coming to this same conclusion of fuck the government, look, once, twice, three times, all right, three times, that's a pattern. We're seeing this everywhere.
Of foreigners who break into our country. And not just the ones that break into our country, the ones that it, against our democratic will, has said in their millions that they can come and settle in this country. Nobody wanted this. Nobody asked for it.
Now, plenty of people wanted this. Plenty of people asked, like, you have so many soft-hearted, bleeding heart liberal types that did ask for this because they have been brainwashed by some sort of, a lot of folks call it the woke mind virus, whatever you want to call it. The point is, there are people who do not understand the way the world works, or even worse, they do understand and want to force a cultural shift, whether it be through cultural Marxism or whatnot, that really are just stupid pawns of whatever this overarching power is, that do want this, that did vote for this. You wouldn't get the people in power in, places where you're, allowed to vote, where you supposedly are able to have your voice heard, if there weren't enough people actually voting for it.
Of this was done completely. I mean, every manifesto of every party that's won for the last, 50 years has said, yeah, no, we're not going to have immigration. We're going to reduce immigration. We're going to get immigration down to the tens of thousands. We're going to make sure immigration is manageable. It has...
No, tens of thousands is too high. Not tens of thousands is too high. The tens is too high. With the current state of how we're living the world over, the tens is too high. Complete moratorium on immigration, bar none. I don't care what sort of country you're from. I don't care what sort of culture you're from. We done. Immigration is over.
Not happened. And so now the country is just awash with strangers. And this is why Keir Starmer was like, yeah, well, we are risking turning into an island of strangers. Like, yeah, I know. Because I go out into my local town.
And you let this happen, Keir. You let this happen, Keir. For those of you that don't know, I've done many a streaming video ripping that motherfucker apart, so go make sure to check those out.
That just 5 years ago wasn't like this. It was a normal English town. And now, it's just crazy. Absolutely crazy how just anyone from anywhere is allowed to come and live here, and we have to pay for the privilege. This, of course, has all sparked this latest sort of confrontation has been sparked by the court's decision about the asylum seekers staying in the Epping Hotel, which is, again, just mad.
Which I would like to remind everybody that these are not asylum seekers. They claim to be asylum seekers, and maybe some of them are. Maybe 12 of these 10,000 of them are asylum seekers. I'm sorry. Risk doesn't outweigh the reward, or the risk does outweigh the reward, I should say. I don't care if there's 12 innocent asylum seekers out there. You lost your privileges when the 10,000 others that were abusing the system, they were pretending to be asylum seekers so they could come across the border with, this 9-year-old girl that isn't actually their daughter that they could sell into some sort of sex slavery. When that started happening in mass, or even if it just started happening once, the real asylum seekers, if they even exist, lost their privileges. Again, not just in the UK, but the world over. This is a worldwide problem. Why is this a worldwide problem? Again, need I remind you, because there's probably some sort of worldwide global cabal, call them Illuminati, call them New World Order, whatever it may be, that wants to force this cultural change. But to do that, they need to break these first world countries from the inside. That's what's going down here.
Actually, if you just think about it, from like a perspective that isn't invested in the conflict, you think, hang on, why would they be doing this? So, of course, the local council in Epping applied for an injunction to get the asylum seekers, 138 of them, removed from the Bell Hotel in Epping because a couple of them had sexually assaulted kids. And the government decided to...
I'm going to take a wild guess and say that it's more than a couple of them have done that to children.
Appeal this on specific grounds. They actually have... the government lawyers say it was... relevant public interests in play are not equal and are fundamentally different in nature. Yeah, there's a bunch of very suspect men that we have to pay to house here, and then you've got the normal people of Epping who are worried that these men are going to do something to their children. So yeah, you're right, they're not equal. Like, one side...
I want to point attention to the sign that these women are holding. I'm not far right. I'm worried about my kids. The fact that they would need to specify that they are not far right is insane to me. Now, it's not insane in terms of it's unbelievable. It's insane that we've let things get this bad. Because whether you are far right or not shouldn't actually matter. What happens on the right is... mostly policy and economics based. Or at least that should be the idea. However, because there's been so many years of demonization of the right, also as far as what a lot of lies are about, the far right and what the far right is. Far right are Nazis. Leave aside the fact that Nazis stood for National Socialist Party, which is actually a more or less left-leaning idea, but that's neither here nor there. The point is, these people still have to clarify that they're not far right, because the idea of being on the right at all has them demonized. Maybe they actually are on the right. Far right, right in general, left, it doesn't actually matter. But because of the stigma that has been put on individuals on the right, they need to make this claim to even hope to be taken any sort of seriously. Now, again, why are we covering what's going on in the UK? We're America. I'm America first, right? Y'all know Leon's America first. Absolutely. But this is a global issue that also does affect America, because if this is, some sort of new world order, world government sort of thing, the UK could very well be a testing ground. All these other first world countries could be a testing ground, and the US is just the final boss at the end. If they can corrupt Australia, if they can corrupt the UK, if they can corrupt Japan, if they can corrupt Bulgaria, insert country here, that's one more step to furthering their goal. And America will eventually be on that list. So yes, while it's not necessarily affecting America right now, or at least it's not near to near this degree, it eventually will. So we got to stop this now before it even touches our borders, or it gets worse at our borders, because we've seen our borders be quite the issue over the last several years. Yeah, we need to stop this now, because if we wait until it gets to us, if we wait till the UK falls, if we wait till Australia falls, if we wait till Japan falls, if we wait till Indonesia falls, by that point it will be too late.
Shouldn't even be in the country, and the other side is right by default. So weird how the government's like, yeah, no, this is a problem. Because, and this is the thing, they realised that, oh wait, there will be a wave of legal challenges from other councils over the use of hotels in their area if Epping's victory would set a precedent. So they know, all right, our intention to bring in loads of foreign men will be made much more difficult if we allow this. And so, okay, what a shock.
And as it should. This is why local politics are the most powerful form of politics. They're the ones that affect you on the day-to-day lives. Now, I can't pretend to be some sort of British legal scholar. I don't know how this will work. I don't know if they have the same system of, local superseding XYZ as we do in the US. But if I was to apply that level of knowledge, and my UK viewers, you can correct me in the comments below, because I know I do have a lot of you guys. In fact, I have a UK viewer that suggested this specific video. But the fact of the matter is, if the precedent is set because of this one city, then that is grounds for change for the entire country. And that's a scary thought to these elites whose plans have been going more or less swimmingly as the way they've been wanting them to go. But you just need 1, 2, 3, whatever it may be, local politicians that are fed up, that are able to take this case, that aren't in the pocket of the elites, and then the people have a chance.
What a shock. Lord Justice Bean in the High Court said the High Court ruling by Mr. Justice Eyre failed to consider the challenges of relocating the migrants. Well, I'm sorry, how's that our problem? Deport them. They shouldn't be here. The judge's approach ignores the obvious consequence that the closure of one site's capacity means capacity needs to be identified elsewhere in the system. Too bad. Deport them. They shouldn't be here. And, yeah, it does.
And that's what we've seen here in the U.S. That's what we've seen here in the U.S., and it's worked. Hey, these people, they've got families. They've got kids. Fuck them. Shouldn't have been here. Deport them all. They took that risk when they came here, illegally. And the way I sees it, love or hate Donald Trump, he done a pretty good job in that regard. Oh, but what about the people that have been sent away or arrested and they were illegal? Don't give a fuck. Mistakes happen. Mistakes happen. Bureaucrat mistakes happen all the time. I would rather 1 or 2 individuals accidentally get arrested and get deported or whatnot, and then be like, oh, shit, sorry, our bad. If it means the thousands upon thousands of individuals that shouldn't be here still go away, and then we can, pay the reparations or whatever to the individuals that were mistakenly abused. Look, whatever. I've absolutely, man, one time, I went to jail over a speeding ticket. No, not even a speeding ticket. It was, I went to jail over my license plate being out of date. Even though it was within date, but there was a warrant out for my arrest that had actually been taken care of months prior by my lawyer, but because it was the beginning of COVID at the time, that it being taken care of fell through the cracks. So I was arrested, obviously bailed out and whatnot, called my lawyer, was like, yo, what's up? And the lawyer was like, yeah, this is wild. They did the filing with the judge or whatever, realized that warrant should have never been issued. Not on my record, off scot-free, whatever. It was a mistake. That ticket and that warrant for my arrest never should have happened. It was a mistake, and it got taken care of within, 48 fucking hours. It was nothing. Shit like that happens. No bureaucratic system is perfect. I say that. The U.S. didn't invent bureaucracy, but we perfected it. Fucking whatever. Anyway.
Does look like it looks like the rights of the illegal immigrants are being put above the rights of the British people. That's entirely true. That is what it looks like. And it seems to be the actual case of the matter.
It is the actual case. It's not even what it looks like. It is the actual case of the matter.
Like, the actual facts seem to be that that's what they're doing. And again, you've got to remember, these aren't exactly good guys as far as we can tell. But Lord Bean said that this was worrying, because if an outbreak of protest enhances a case, this runs the risk of acting as an impetus for further protests, some of which may be disorderly around asylum accommodation. There's a risk of encouraging lawlessness. Oh yeah, I'm sure.
You started encouraging lawlessness the moment you allowed illegal immigrants to start taking up residence in your country. We all remember dual-wheel perk 14-year-old Braveheart who came in and defended herself from an alien, which I've heard is a legal alien, but regardless, was a migrant nonetheless, who really had no business talking to a 14 or 13-year-old girl. I've actually heard reports she was 13, not 14. The point is, we all know about dual-wheel perk Braveheart girl, right? Well, you started, advocating for that from your people when you put these immigrants first. Legal, illegal, doesn't matter. When you put people that did not adhere to your culture first. And when these protests break out, which they inevitably have, you are forced to bend the knee. Guess what? They released that girl. Now, I don't know if she's still going to be charged. I don't know if they only released her on bail. It's actually been pretty hard to find follow-up information on the story because they're trying to keep it on the hush-hush. But the fact of the matter is, she was released. She was released due to pressure from the community to release her. So they bent the knee on her. What else are they going to bend the knee on if you people keep fighting, if you people keep protesting, if you keep making your voices heard? I've said in the past videos that I think the UK is a lost cause. So far, y'all might actually be proving me wrong, and I do hope to God you keep that up.
That telling people, no, you have to have the rapists in your community within walking distance of a school is definitely not going to cause any protest. I mean, that's what's been causing the protest so far, but I'm absolutely certain that you telling everyone to shut up and suck it up is definitely going to stop the protests. And this is genuinely what they're worried about. And unsurprisingly, it's what they're worried about, because I think it's going to continue to happen. In fact, we know it is. It's already happening. But this is just one of those things where you can't help but feel that when they say it's not equal, they're not wrong. But the problem is the locus of their attention, right? So as you can see, Piers Riley Smith for Somani Hotels, they own the Bell Hotel, said this risks precedent being set. Well, yeah, but obviously you'd be against it because the government is bribing you, paying you to host migrants in the hotels. So why would we listen to you? Obviously you're going to be like, oh no, we should definitely have the migrants in our hotel because ka-ching. Like, and again, the argument, there's no evidence exactly where they'd go if the judge's decision was not overturned. And they overlooked the hardship the migrants would face. I don't care.
I was about to say the same thing. I don't give a fuck what hardships they do. I give so little of a fuck about what the migrants would face that I actually give somewhat of a fuck about the UK. Now, you gotta understand, we as Americans haven't given a fuck about what the UK has to say since about 1776 or so. However, because of what you guys have done with your migrants and allowing them in, all of a sudden, we Americans start to kind of give a fuck about the UK again. That's how badly you butt-fucked your own people, is that we're over here like, damn, what are you doing, UK? Fucking hell. Now we gotta care about this shit because you won't even, like, look after your own citizens, your own constituents? It's bleak, bro. It's bleak.
I'm not overlooking it. I don't care. I mean, personally, I'm in favour of corporal punishment for them breaking into our country. But I'm in favour of the state literally arresting them, putting them in stocks, and having them flogged, and then deported back to wherever they've come from for the temerity of breaking into our country and then attacking our children. Right? The idea that I'm in favour of them suffering hardship, like massive amounts of hardship, as punishment for what they have.
I don't know if my mic is picking up whatever's going on in the background, but just so you're aware, my cat, Valkyrie, he got the zoomies right now, so if that gets picked up, I'm sorry.
Done to us and the people of Epping. Right? I am in favour of hardship. So it's really weird argument, frankly. But yeah, the protests have already happened. There was a woman here who went up to the Epping Forest District Council building, put up a British flag, and she was arrested. Now, of course, they didn't do that with the Palestine flags on.
And there it is. And there it is. They arrested a British gal for putting up the British flag. But the pro-Palestinian protester, who, if you look at him, doesn't seem like he's particularly of the UK descent. Nothing. No charges. Oh, we can't be perceived as being racist. Now, fuck out of here. They're gonna hide behind that excuse over and over. We don't want to be perceived as being racist. No, you're in on it. This is a global agenda that they are in on. Not only do they want this, they want you to cower and fear because you know that they want this and you can't do a goddamn thing about it.
Our war monuments and things like that. So, again, it shows you where the locus of concern is, right? Because what does putting up a flag mean? A flag is a symbol. A flag is an embodied representation of something else. When you put up a flag, you are saying this territory is under the jurisdiction of the people and moral system it represents. And so when you put up the Palestine flag, that's being used as an embodiment of foreign people and the moral system of leftism, the moral system of extreme radical leftism, to say, no, this when you see this flag, it is a representation of the moral jurisdiction of radical left-wing lawyers, radical left-wing politicians, and radical left-wing activists, and the foreign client groups that they represent. When you see the British flag...
Now, he keeps saying the radical left-wing. And again, I don't know much about the UK's government, so I can't speak much to it. And I used to blame the radical left, and frankly still do blame the radical left, for a lot of what happens in the US. That being said, if the UK is anything like the US in this regard, it's almost a diversion tactic. Like, go ahead, blame the radical left. Because when you're blaming the radical left, you're ignoring the uniparty. And I can only imagine that just like in the US, the UK also has a uniparty. Because you don't get a global cabal of elites that want to force a societal change without there being a uniparty. But I could be wrong. We'll see.
Or more pertinently, the flag of St. George, what that states is this is under the moral and legal jurisdiction of the British people, and in the case of England, the English people, and it is their interests, their rights that are being upheld, their claim to the country that is being represented in the flag. That's why they arrested the mother of Epping, and that's why they didn't arrest the Palestinians. The police know which side they are on. They are the police of tolerance and diversity. They are the police.
And that is why you will never catch me with a thin blue line or Cop Lives Matter or whatever. Pronouns in my bio, not pronouns in the bio, but captions on my bio or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, look, I get it. The majority of the boys in blue, at least here in the West, are doing their job, taking their oath to serve and protect. But they're dogs of the state. They are. They're dogs of the state. It is what it is. And I'm sure many of you know, you've been following me for a while. I am an ex-cop. Didn't last very long, but I'm an ex-cop. Now the UK, I would imagine it's very much the same. You probably got a few dudes out there, the boys in, well, I guess it's still blue in the UK. Doesn't matter. The point is, I imagine there's some folks out there that want to serve and protect. But that's not what they're doing. They're dogs of the state. And frankly, I actually think the police state in the UK is far worse than even when it was at its most draconian under COVID here in the US.
Of the international multi-culti global order. That's what they are here to defend. And that's why they have such trouble recruiting. That's why they have such trouble retaining police officers. That's why their job conditions are so difficult. They are, in effect, an army of occupation. They are here to protect an imposed globalist order that people never voted for, didn't want, and
an army of occupation is a far more respectable and politically correct way of saying dogs of the state. Also, shout out to Full Metal Alchemist for, giving me that terminology.
Don't
watch
support.
Anime, folks.
And so no wonder it's so difficult for them to keep and maintain recruits. No wonder there's so much resistance and friction between the police and the communities they are supposed to police. I remember this is meant to all be done by consent, but people just don't consent anymore. People just don't want this. Anyway, you might be thinking, well, hang on a second, what are you talking about? What proof do you have that these judges are far left and that this is a liberal international order? Well, quite a lot.
What more proof do you need beyond, I'm asking this as a legitimate question to people that do still have this mentality. Not those of you in my audience, because, y'all are based and intelligent, but the people that, for whatever reason, still have this mentality. What further proof do you need beyond the sheer amount of young adult males in their early 20s abusing and taking advantage of female children and them not getting charged, or them getting 12 days in jail and that be it, or them being let off because they don't understand the cultural customs here in the West? So now, anytime you see one of those cases, and there are so goddamn many of them at this point, there's really only one conclusion that you can logically draw if you stop thinking with your bleeding heart, emotions, and start actually using your head.
Actually, and this is a remarkable article on Sky News. Now, Sky News used to be a part, and I would have always considered Sky News one of the core mouthpieces of the global liberal international order, the leftist international order.
Now, Sargon here he's quoting Sky News. I don't know much about Sky News. However, several of my English viewers in my live streams have told me that Sky News is still a mouthpiece for the regime. They are effectively a controlled opposition. I don't know if they are or not, because I don't know much about what's going on in the UK comparatively, because I don't care. I'm America first. But again, this stuff will eventually trickle down to America. And I've always considered Fox News, which I think would be our equivalent, to be controlled opposition. They are, adversaries to the left, to Democrats, things to that effect. But really in name only. And from what I've heard, Sky News is just a worse version of that.
And yet they're doing surprisingly patriotic work, which I didn't see coming. They've published this article, political leanings of the two judges involved in the Epping Migrant Hotel case and who they sided with. Now, you've got Lord Justice Bean is the ex-treasurer of the Society of Labour Lawyers and used to chair the Fabian Society. Go and look up the logo of the the former logo of the Fabian Society, which of course is affiliated to the Labour Party. I mean, Sadiq Khan was a chair of the Fabian Society. Loads of them are. And then so Stephen Eyre was a Tory parliamentary candidate. So you can see how the judges are falling on this. One judge is a radical left-wing Labour Fabian, and the other is a conservative. So he's concerned about the integrity and the continuation of the country. And so you can see this is explicitly political. There is a political war going on in the judiciary, and a bunch of leftist judges are making their judgments and their decisions. And so basically we have to hope that the last analysis is done, the last judgment is made by a conservative justice.
And again, we saw this in the U.S. We saw this in the lead up to the 2024 election. We saw them wage lawfare against Donald Trump. Love him or hate him, I don't give a fuck. Because frankly, I'm pretty much on the outs with old Donnie Boy right now due to the handling of the Epstein stuff. However, love or hate Donald Trump, you cannot deny that they waged all-out war-using law against him when they realized their usual tactics wouldn't work. Now, if the U.S. was doing that, and the U.K. is doing that, and Australia is doing that, and insert any other first-world country here that's doing that, why are they all using the same playbook? If not, they are being given their marching orders from somebody even higher than them. Is it tinfoil hatery? Is it conspiratorial? Sure. But how many times have we had to put a quarter in the Alex Jones was right jar? Too many for me to be comfortable about.
Have to hope that that's the case, because otherwise we get, and let's be real, I think the system is just going to essentially sort of not rig it, but be structured in such a way that the highest level of judges is definitely going to be the international lib types, and they're going to rule in favor of the foreigners. And they do it every time. It's not an accident that this happens. This is just the way the system is set up. And this is, again, the purpose of the system is what it does. This is how it operates for a reason. This is the two-tier nature of the system. It is designed to extract wealth, extract power, extract resources, extract anything that it needs, manpower, out of the native population of this country, and then use those resources, use that power, use that money in order to facilitate the plantation of this country with foreign colonies.
And what you just explained is why I do not believe it is a purely left-leaning issue. And I know that a lot of y'all that follow me are on the right and whatnot, and I understand and I appreciate that. However, we've got to acknowledge the fact that the right is in on this as well, because one side alone likely doesn't have the power to sway the hearts and minds like this. They might be able to do it optically, like it might look like it's only one side, but you don't get that amount of power from only one side. This has to be a uniparty issue. I mean, look, we can look at Star Wars as a great example of this. Why was Palpatine successful? Because he was playing both sides. He was at war with himself. He was just playing chess, and he was his own opponent, so he knew what moves to make to get the outcome he wanted. That is the uniparty. That's real. You don't need space wizards and whatnot to be able to apply the real-world allegories here. Yeah, we are actually living in a world where there is some sort of, probably not individual, but Palpatine-esque group that are making these moves. And they're using the left as the CIS, as the Confederacy of Independent Systems, i.e. the droid armies, the bad guys in Star Wars, But really, they're controlling both sides. That's my theory.
It doesn't matter how much you object to that. They will just arrest you. They will just use the system against you, make their rulings against you, regardless of how ridiculous it looks, regardless of the fact that they know that this is going to cause protests, way more protests. It strikes me that actually conceding on these points would have been more sensible, but no, now it's being drawn to a close. It's being, pushed to a head on all of this, on this particular issue. It's like, okay, well, I mean, the people of Epping have nowhere else to go. The people of Britain have nowhere else to go. The foreigners you're bringing in absolutely do have somewhere else to go.
That was the point I was about to make. Yes, the foreigners have a place to go. Back to their own fucking country. And, they're war-torn country. They're not safe there. They're asylum seekers. Okay, here's one of the key points about asylum seeking that so many people seem to gloss over. If you are seeking asylum, you are supposed to seek asylum, assuming I'm correct, and again, you can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this, but my understanding of seeking asylum is that you are supposed to seek in the closest safe area to you. Now, some areas, that's one country over. Some, that may be a hop, skip, and a boat right away, 2-3 countries, whatnot, because there's a lot of war-torn areas in, like, the Middle East or whatnot. But I could goddamn guarantee you that the US, that Australia, the UK, none of these are the closest, free and safe nation to the countries that are actually going through whatever they need to seek asylum from. It just logistically doesn't make any sense. Geographically, doesn't make sense.
It looks to me like the situation will become so dire and untenable that it'll just be not worth their time to stay here, and then we will be left with our treacherous judge.
In fact, there's a certain irony that I would wager, in fact, I would argue, that not only is the UK, the US, Australia, none of them the places where these asylum seekers are seeking this asylum. We are now so unsafe due to the types of vagabonds that have been let in to these countries. We aren't even the safest nations anymore for asylum seekers. Why? Because the people they let in seeking asylum have made these countries, including the US, at least from 2020 to 2024, unsafe shitholes. Australia is not a safe place anymore. UK definitely not a safe place anymore. For a period of time, I would wager the US was not a safe place. Now, maybe safer than some of the others and whatnot because the US is fucking awesome. But in general, the same asylum seekers we let in have made this geographical location so unsafe that now they shouldn't even be searching for safe haven here because of the risk. Now, again, they're not attacking their own. They're not hurting their own whatnot. They're hurting our people instead. But my point is, you can make an interesting argument for that.
Our treacherous politicians, our treacherous police officers, and they won't even have the foreign constituencies to back them up. Anyway, you've got things like this, which is just crazy. Obviously, this hotel owner is the crazy one, but it's crazy how this is the situation that we're in, right? As you can see, James here, a boutique hotel owner in Cambridgeshire has rejected a £3 million 7-year contract to house migrants, saying it would harm the village and refused to be part of the arrogant government's asylum system.
Based beyond belief. I didn't know there were individuals in the UK that had this caliber of spine, saying to the UK government, no, I will not accept your dirty goat fuckers here, even for £3 million. Like, that's... I must say, it's very rare that the UK impresses me. Usually you guys impress me when you actually pronounce your words correctly by putting the R at the end. But you know what? You did it today. Well done, hotel owner.
What an absolute patriot. If you're ever in Cambridge, go and stay at Willingham House. We have to absolutely support.
That looks like such a nice hotel. I don't know, I can't see the inside, but from the outside, that looks like a nice piece of history. This looks like a nice hotel. Can you imagine what it would look like within just a week or two if he had decided to house these animals? Property value won't ever be the same, son.
Chaotic people of this country who refuse to be bribed by the state, and they refuse to take part in the in the replacement of the British population. They refuse to be a part of this system because this system is going to age badly. When it comes to the end of all of this, people are going to be like, wow, you were complicit.
I don't like the idea that he says it's going to age badly. This is already bad. Like, if someone puts arsenic in your cereal, the cereal didn't age badly. It's fucking poisoned. That's what the not just the British government, but all of these first world governments that believe in this crap and are exercising the will of the state to enforce this crap are poisoned. They drank the mercury. They drank the arsenic, whatever. This is not a case of aging badly. That just means, we let so-and-so go on for too long. No, the fact that it happened at all is a poison.
In this, I mean, for example, and Elon's been making a lot of noise on this recently, which is absolutely superb. The government in Britain is bribing owners with multi-million pounds for 7-year contracts to house illegals. Their goal is obviously to amplify and extend the illegal migrant tidal wave, not reduce it. Anyone saying otherwise is a liar. Thankfully, this good man rejected the bribe. Completely true. Completely true. This is an incentive to get more illegals into the country because, frankly, they have decided that the native constituency is an unwinnable battlefield at this point. They can't politically compete with the natives, so now they have to start courting foreigners. And remember that they turned one of these hotel owners into a billionaire doing this. They turned him...
Everyone has a price. I don't care what they tell you. Everyone got a price. What is the price to turn on your countrymen? $1 billion would be real hard to say no to. $1 billion would be people can't even fathom. $1 billion isn't life-changing. $1 billion is generationally changing. You, your kids, your grandkids, your great-great-great-grandkids, set for life. For hundreds, maybe not hundreds, but for many lives. Yeah. And because they care more about that money than their homeland, than their country, they will take that devil's bargain.
Into, again, a billionaire. Like, so much of your money has been funneled into Graham King's pockets, and that smug, smirking traitor. You got to ask yourself, well, how long is this going to last, Graham? And what happens when...
It's going to last until they run out of money. This is why it is a global thing. This is why it is to force a global change. There is no price too high. They will do this until they are out of money, but they will never run out of money because they will continue printing money, which will devalue the dollar or the pound or whatnot, but they'll never run out. So if you have a rabbit at this end, and you have a carrot at this end, and the rabbit jumps, and every time it jumps, it goes half the distance. This is an old math problem. If every time it jumps, it goes half the distance, it will never quite make it to the carrot. It is impossible at that ratio for it to make it to the carrot. Now, it might eventually get so close it can reach out and touch it, but it will never actually get to the carrot. That's why these governments, they will never actually run out of money. They can just devalue it so much that it doesn't matter. So it's a war of attrition. Do we gain our new world order? Do we gain our forced cultural change before the money is so devalued on a global scale that it means nothing? That is what they are doing to you right now.
When the actual bill comes due.
And bingo, bango, bongo. You love to see. Oh, look at that. We got Midnight with Sin right there. Maybe we'll pop into her stream. Anyway, yeah, look at that. Great video from Sargon. Great video from Sargon, as always. Now, he was focused on the UK, but this is happening the world over. And I want to make sure I specify that because look up what's going on in Indonesia. Look, they've got the One Piece flag. They are flying the One Piece flag as a sign of resistance against the government. Yeah, that's based as fuck. Alright? Japan. Normally the most culturally polite first world country on the planet. are doing marches to end immigration. Why? Because the youngsters in Japan are so pro-immigration. They're not so different from the US-based SJWs we had just 5 years ago, if not more recent or even a little bit further away ago. That's happening there. They're a bit behind the curve, but they're going the same way we are. The UK... Look how many videos have I done on the UK lately? This is a festering problem, and we are seeing the plebeians, the normal everyday citizens of the world, waking up and fighting back. And you love to fucking see it. So yeah, I want to make sure that we continue to spread this awareness. So yeah, am I normally a nerdy news channel? Absolutely. Am I going to continue to talk about why the casting for Batman sucks, or why Magic the Gathering's power creep is getting out of hand? 100%. But when it's applicable, and I would say right now it's very applicable, we're going to continue talking about this cultural strife. Because if we lose our culture, which looks like it may or may not happen, if too many people give up, if we lose our culture, then there won't be any pop culture to talk about. There ain't going to be any anime and video games and comic books to talk about. And that's truly distressing, because what happens when you lose your culture? What happens when you lose your pop culture? You lose your history, and you lose further generations from experiencing the greatness and the art and the stories that we can tell. But these are just my opinions. Let me know yours in the comments down below, or let me know on X, and find me at Bolt the Word. And please do subscribe. I'm a nerdy news channel. I cover nerdy news nearly every day. Not always about these sorts of current events. Usually about anime, movies, music, Magic the Gathering, you name it. Check me out on Instagram at wordsparadise_Leon and become a member. For $4.99 a month, you can join the Discord. Choose the articles we go over on the day-to-day basis. Choose the videos we react to on the daily live streams. And of course, get involved with over 200 other vital idols. We are a bright, beautiful, glowing, vibrant community that I cannot wait to go even further, because we do care about diversity. But only one kind of diversity of thought. If that's interesting to you, join the Discord, hit subscribe, and until next time, it's all here in the Nerdosphere. This has been Words of Paradise.